everybody, to another episode here on the Digital Classroom. Super excited to be with you live from the ADHA annual session in Columbus, Ohio. It's been a very fun 2 days, yesterday and today, and I wanted to take some time and bring some of the CE speakers, some of the people in the dental industry that are making such a positive impact in regards to continuing education. So I'm very honored and very excited to have Sherri Lucas with me this afternoon. How you doing, Sherri?
Good. I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on. So Sherri did a very, very relevant topic here at the meeting, which was called From the Inside Out, which she's going to share with you all the details of oral pathology, oral systemic link, all of those great things. So I'm excited to hear about that. Before we do, I'd love to hear about you and your story and all the great stuff you've done and how you've got to this point where you're speaking and making an impact.
Sure, great, thanks. Yes, I am Sherri Lucas, and I've been a hygienist for 37 years, long time, and I've done a lot of things in my career. I spent 5 years in private practice, as we all should, and then I advanced my career and did, got additional education and began teaching, and then was at Southern Illinois University, go Salukis, for 25 years, teaching, doing research, promoted to associate professor before I retired, and then I was able to retire 4 years ago, and now launched Sherri Lucas Speaking Consulting, and now I do speaking and consulting. I do a considerable amount of writing. My other passion is I do mission work, a couple mission trips, a couple times a year. Central, Southern Mexico. I still take SIU students with me.
Right.
So as far as speaking, as far as my courses go, my specialty is oral pathology. I taught oral pathology for 20 plus years at SIU. And then, so I've developed courses in that area. Of course, I did at this meeting, though, Amy Kinnaman and Amy is from Ohio, and her specialty is the oral systemic link.
Okay.
My specialty is oral pathology, so we developed a course that covers those conditions that we know, according to the research, have a link to periodontal disease. And then we took it a step further and then what are also the oral pathologies associated either with those conditions themselves, like, diabetes, you have enlarged salivary glands and several things like that, either from the conditions themselves or pathologies that arrive as a result of the treatment for those conditions.
Right.
So actually it's been fun developing that course. And
I think that's kind of interesting, like you said, you had your expertise and her expertise, and you guys have found a way to make them connect. And so how was was this the first time you guys did this course, or you've done it a couple times?
No, we've done it 2-3 times.
Okay.
Each time, the educator in me, I just can't help it. We tend to change it a lot. And and there have been times when it was an all-day course. It could easily be an all-day course, a 6-hour. And then we've done it where it was a 3-hour. This meeting was a 2-hour, had to cut a lot of content. That's the challenge. I always have more content usually than what I can cover in the time allotted. So, and then you always want to make sure that you have enough science, that you have the research to back up your, everything that you're presenting. I'm a science kind of gal.
Yep.
So, it's a fun course.
Yeah. And what was the for those that was their first time there? I'm always interested in some of the questions they have. Once you start presenting the idea, the light bulb goes off, and they're really interested in it. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was it was good. We had some technological challenges in the room that day, which made it challenging to engage with the audience as much as we would like, and but some comments I heard afterwards were they enjoyed of course, everybody's interested in the perisystemic link now, and they did enjoy the addition of the oral pathology to that. So that was encouraging for me, and then I love hearing back from. I look very closely at my course evaluations, and I always look for areas where I can improve, or oftentimes they'll say, how about if you start adding this? I'm like, oh, you're absolutely right. So I got a couple of those comments afterwards. So
yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. And then from an implementation standpoint, many of them, everybody taking their notes and what they're learning, and most importantly, wanting to then get back into their practices in the next couple of weeks and start to work on that.
Yes, and that's one thing that I've really tried to do, especially over the last few months, is look at my courses and say, okay, it's not enough to just give people information.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you go back on Monday morning and use this in your practice? That's absolutely key.
Yeah. Which I would imagine, I'm super curious, from all of your years as an educator, it cannot be easy to want to teach people like you said, the science and all that, and put a lot of energy and focus into that, and then find ways to build the application of it.
Yeah.
So talk about how you learned that over the years.
Yeah, it can be challenging. So if I'm, covering, okay, these are the things that we see, the pathologies that we see in folks with, rheumatoid arthritis, then what does that mean for me as a clinician?
Right.
Well, if when I'm doing the intra-extraoral exam, I need to check this joint now.
Right.
I need to look at the medical history. Oh, they have RA, so perhaps I need to, or maybe I even need to take a panoramic film that I hadn't thought about taking that before, but 40% of patients with RA have involvement of the temporal mandibular joint. So that's where I think the transfer occurs.
Yeah.
Looking specifically at the medical history, and okay, they have RA, so they're also on methotrexate. Are they going to have any intraoral ulcerations? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what's next? Any other courses that you're working on, or I'm sure you probably are.
Always updating my courses.
Yeah.
I do. I also taught public health, and so I have a keen interest in diverse populations. Excuse me. And so I have an interest in the older adult population, so I have a course on that, always updating that. I'm doing that course at Under One Roof.
Okay.
And then looking at, for my different courses, the different cases I present. I pride myself in that most of the cases I put in my courses are ones that I've gathered my own images of.
Right.
You're not really supposed to go on the internet and get images. Most of those are copyrighted.
Right.
And so gathering good pathology images just, can be challenging.
Sure.
So then, so some of the images people have sent me, and then developing cases around that for the good of my courses and the good of my, my audiences, to use that in their work in the dental office to help them. One thing I really like is I have several cases where what was found in the oral cavity was a sign of a systemic disease that was actually undiagnosed and was caught by the dental staff, which is cool.
Absolutely.
I think, because then that means we're on the front lines of interdisciplinary care.
Yeah, there's no question. So when you look at the future of continuing education and where a lot of this is going, what are you most excited about? Other than the stuff that you're teaching and that, but I mean, I think just in general, as a clinician, a student of the industry, things like that.
Well, I think what's really exciting is what I just commented on, the fact that dental professionals in general are becoming more involved in that medical dental collaboration.
Sure.
The mouth is part of the body.
Right.
And the more and more we learn about the overall health of the patient, the more that we can help them. I say in my courses, at the end of the course, I say, I don't want to be a picker flicker, and when I speak to doctors, I say, and I know you don't want to be just driller fillers.
Right.
I want to be that office that the patient goes out and says, wow, those people were awesome. They found these pigmented areas in my mouth and said, perhaps you have Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, a hereditary polyposis, where those polyps can become, carcinomatous, and sent me for a testing. I did indeed have that, and that was my dental office that diagnosed that.
Right.
I want to be that kind of health professional.
Right. And it's interesting hearing you say that, because nowadays there are so many different ways that dental practices and providers are trying to differentiate themselves.
They are.
And here is probably the best way.
Yeah, one of
which
the
is
best,
to,
sure.
or one of the best is to be that value-added clinician that is able to pull the pieces together and bring the medical aspect into it. And
Yeah, I like to think so.
yeah, and provide the patients that, which is very, very exciting. And that in itself is word of mouth, literally, right? I mean,
It
to your
is.
point, if
It
I go
is.
into a
Yeah.
practice and my dental practice, my hygienist, my dentist brought something to my attention that I had been struggling getting diagnosed for some time, all of a sudden, I mean, everybody's going to know about that practice.
Yeah, and you're going to have a patient for life, and not only that patient, they're going to bring you more patients.
Sure,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Talk a little bit about, I'm very curious, there are, as we talk about continuing education, there's more and more that's going online.
Yep.
And for someone that does a lot of on-hand lectures and things like that, I'm curious on just your thoughts on what it is and where a lot of it's going.
Yeah, what we're seeing nationwide is a reduction in attendance in live CE courses.
Sure.
Because folks can get a lot of their CE online. Through webinars, through reading publications and submitting a written exam, and so depending on your state, what they allow. And I know what I like personally, but not everybody. And people are busy, so I get it.
Sure.
But there's more to a live CE than just going and sitting and gaining the information. I like the networking aspect and that kind of thing, being with like-minded individuals, and if you design your course right and make it engaging, then they can learn from each other.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the landscape is definitely changing for sure.
Well, you mentioned something interesting that just in your course that you taught, some of the feedback that you were given made you think a little bit about things that you could add or to do to even make it better. And it's kind of something you don't get online.
No,
I mean,
you
could ask people for, please give us a reply.
Yes.
But how many of us actually, if we're already taking it online because we don't have a lot of time, how many of us, we have to obviously do a basic evaluation of the course. That's a requirement and things like that. But yeah, to your point, you don't get that interaction that allows you, the professional educator, to go and then maybe tweak and add value to what you're doing. So.
Yeah, and even unspoken things, body language of your participants, or if they're not engaged at all,
right,
and on their phone or sleeping, maybe I need to bump this up.
Yes. You can't see that when they're on their phone because they're on their phone taking the course, so you can't see that. But if they signed up for a live event, that means you are supposed to be there and present, and please pay attention.
Sure. Yes. Absolutely.
That's hilarious. Well, I like to ask, especially from somebody yourself, as we wrap here, for the younger hygienists, those that are getting ready to start their career and things like that. A word or two of advice from you on as they're starting out on their journey and being students of the industry, of what you would share with them from your experience.
Never stop learning. I of course I taught students for 25 years. I absolutely love students, and but once you graduate from a dental hygiene program, you are very entry level. I remember when I graduated, I thought I knew it all. And then I was in practice my first year and realized, wow, I barely scratched the surface. So I always continue to learn. Even when I retired from academia, I had my head in an oral path book for 30 years. And I realized I was behind in implants or areas like that, so there's always something to learn.
Yes.
And to embrace the profession and learn as much as you can so that you can, because I know hygienists, and I know they want to be the best healthcare provider they can be. So that's the way to do that, to always keep on that lifelong learner track.
Well, and it seems like it's been very encouraging, I think, with this meeting. It's been very neat to watch those of you that have been around here for a long time.
Yeah, I
that
love
are
this meeting.
giving back, and the energy has just been great. And I think it's very encouraging for those that are just beginning and they realize that they can do the same thing too as they move
Absolutely.
forward. Yeah. So, all right. So, how can people find out about you? I know you have Sherri Lukes Consulting and all that.
Yes,
so,
I do. I just launched a new website,
Cool.
www.sherrilukes.com. And it has my schedule on there, how you can get hold of me, some things I've done. All my courses are listed, or I still have maintained my SIU email, smlukes@siu.edu. And so I can be reached by email or through my website.
Cool. You know, I was going to ask you, what is the mascot again for SIU? Or
It's the Saluki.
Saluki, but like that goes with your name.
Lukes, Sherri Lukes. And the Saluki. You know what? I had never really thought of that.
I mean, you said that, and for one point I thought, man, did they like...
How did that happen?
I was like, did she get to create the mascot name?
No, it's my husband's fault.
That's true. So he gets some credit too. I don't know. That's
funny.
That
that had never
even
occurred
thought
to me.
about that. Yes, I guess that happens when you interview people. You focus on these things. But anyways, well, Sherri, thank you so much again,
You're so
everybody.
welcome. Thank you for having
please
me.
be sure to learn more about the great things Sherri's doing and continue to educate the industry. And that message of being a lifelong learner is so important and just moves the industry forward. So really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right.